Good afternoon, students. This is Dr. Pooja Gupta from ITM University, teaching you the anatomy of the small and large intestine. So already we have done with the small intestine part, uh, but in a very superficial way. Now we'll go a little in deep of the small intestine and the large intestine, and we'll deal with the we'll learn about the various anatomical structures of the small and large intestine. So duodenum is divisible into four parts. There is three parts of small intestine. We have already done with this. That's is the duodenum, ileum, jejunum, and the ileum. So small intestine is formed by the duodenum, jejunum, and the ileum. Okay, and then there is the different parts of large intestine. So first, the duodenum is divisible into four parts. First is the superior first part, that is the short and lies anterolateral to the body of the L1 vertebrae. Okay, so the superior first part is this approximately 5 centimeter in long. So the first part is short and lies anterolateral to the body of the L1 vertebrae. Okay, now the second part is the descending second part, descending part, which is 7 to 10 centimeter long, and it's a longer, okay, and descends along the right sides of the L1 to L3 vertebrae. Fine. Now next one is the horizontal or the third part, that is the 6 to 8 centimeter long and crosses the L3 vertebrae. It's because it crosses the L3 vertebrae means this is the level of the part which is present. So these parts are present at these levels. Okay, like superior first part is present at the L1 vertebrae, then descending second part is present at the L1 to L3 vertebrae. Okay, it is the longer one because it's a 7 to 10 centimeter long, so it's present at the bigger area from L1, L2 and L3 vertebrae. Now the horizontal part crosses the L3 vertebrae, the level is the L3 vertebrae, and the ascending fourth part is the 5 centimeter long and it is short and begins at the left of the third lumbar vertebra and rises superiorly as far as the superior border of the L2 vertebra. So these are the four parts of duodenum, that is the superior, descending, horizontal and the ascending part. Okay, as now you can see in the picture, there is the first part. I'm zooming this one. So this is the from the Gray's Anatomy. So this is the first part. Fine. Okay, so we are dealing, this is the first part. Okay, this is the first part, 5 centimeter long. This is the second part, 7 to 10 centimeter long. This is the third part of duodenum, that is the again 6 to 8 centimeters, and the last one is the 5 centimeter long, and it's a you can see is a C-shaped structure, the duodenum, and here it lies the what you can say your pancreas. Okay, and what happens in the pancreatic duct and the bile duct, it's open inside the duodenum because the maximum part of absorption it occurs in the duodenum only. Okay, so this is the part of the duodenum. Fine. Now as you can see here, this is the duodenum. Okay, this is the duodenum, and this you can see pancreatic duct and this bile duct, common bile duct, it's opening in the lumen of the duodenum, because the maximum all the enzymes and whatever needed for the juices, the pancreatic juice and the bile juice needful for the digestion of the various nutrients, the carbohydrates and the breakdown of those carbohydrates, proteins, and what you can say fatty into fatty acids and proteins into amino acids and the carbohydrates into glucose. This occurs in the duodenum only. The maximum part, this dissociation of all the major compounds into the simpler compounds occurs in the duodenum. So this is the what you can say about the duodenum, and it's all the bile ducts, these are opening in the duodenum. Fine. Now you can see the next part of the small intestine is the jejunum and the ileum. Fine. So the jejunum and ileum measures about 6 meter long, and the upper 2/5 of this length make up the jejunum. Now what happens, see, the jejunum and ileum is the main part of the small intestine, which are around 6 meters long, okay, and that also in the maximum part is made up of the jejunum only, okay. It has distinctive features. The jejunum begins at the duodenal junction, jejunal flexure, because where the duodenum ends and the jejunum starts, that is called as the jejunal flexure, and the ileum ends at the ileocecal junction. Fine. So this is the distinctive feature is that because it starts from the jejunal flexure and ends at the ileocecal junction. Right. Now, the coils of jejunum and the ileum are freely mobile and attached to the posterior abdominal wall by a fan-shaped fold of peritoneum known as the mesentery of the small intestine. Okay, the coils of the jejunum and ileum are freely mobile and are attached to the posterior abdominal wall by a fan-shaped structure fold of peritoneum that is called as the mesentery. Okay, mesentery of small intestine. The fold of peritoneum is called as the mesentery of the small intestine. Fine. So the next difference is what are the difference between the jejunum and ileum. So in the living, the jejunum can be distinguished from the ileum by the following features. What are the features? So the jejunum lies coiled in the upper part of the peritoneal cavity, and the ileum is in the lower part of the peritoneal cavity and in the pelvis. Okay, so this is the first difference. This jejunum lies in the upper part of the peritoneal cavity and the ileum lies in the lower part of the peritoneal cavity and in the pelvis. So jejunum is wider, thicker walled and redder than the ileum, and the jejunal wall feels thicker because the plica circularis are larger, more numerous and closely set. So this is the reason why jejunum is more thicker than the ileum, because of this plica circularis, which is more larger, numerous and closely set. Fine. Now the next is the jejunal mesenteric vessels form only one or two arcades with long and infrequent branches passing to the intestinal wall. Fine. So these the jejunal mesenteric vessel supplies the jejunum, and ileum receives numerous short terminal vessels that arise from a series of 3 or 4 even more arcades. Fine. So this is the next difference, and the others are like at the jejunal end of mesentery, the fat is deposited near the root and is scanty near the intestinal wall, and at the ileum, at the ileal end of the mesentery, the fat is deposited throughout. Fine. Throughout, so that it extends from the root of the intestine to the intestinal wall. So at the jejunal end of the mesentery, this is the difference. In the jejunum, it's deposit near the root only, and in scanty near the intestinal wall, and in the ileum, it's mesentery, the fat is deposited throughout so that it extends from the root to the intestinal wall. Now the aggregations of lymphoid tissue, that is the Peyer's patches. So this lymphoid tissue, the aggregations of lymphoid tissue are present in the mucus of membrane of the lower ileum along the antimesenteric border. Fine. Now, this in the living, this may be visible through the wall of the ileum from the outside. This lymphoid tissues, the aggregations of lymphoid tissues, that is called as the Peyer's patches, are present in the mucous membrane of the lower ileum along the antimesenteric border. Fine. And that is visible through the wall of the ileum from outside. So you can see here the jejunum and ileum, the length of the jejunum, they are comparing the the length of the jejunum is the shorter, okay, and ileum is longer, the diameter is wider, ileum is narrower, wall of the jejunum is thicker, more plica circularis, ileum is thinner, that is less plica circularis. Appearance of the jejunum is dark red, and that of the appearance of ileum is light red, okay, and the vessels are high and less arched along the long terminal branches. Vessels are the long terminal branches, while the ileum is the low or more arched short terminal branches. Right. The mesenteric fat, the small amount and away from the intestinal border. Mesenteric fat, small amount and away from the intestinal border, and the ileum is the large amount and close to the intestinal border. Fine. Now the lymphoid tissue, few aggregations in the jejunum and in the numerous aggregations in the Peyer's patches. So this is the basic difference between the jejunum and the ileum. Fine. So this is about the jejunum and ileum, and now the blood supply, lymphatic drainage, and the innervation of jejunum and ileum. So the arterial supply from branches of the superior mesenteric artery. The lowest part of the ileum is also supplied by the ileoscolic artery. Fine. The veins corresponding to the branches of the superior arterial supply is by the branches of the superior mesenteric artery, and the lowest part of the ileum is also supplied by the ileoscolic artery. The veins correspond to the branches of the superior mesenteric artery and drain into the superior mesenteric vein. Fine. The lymph drainage, the lymph vessels pass through many intermediate mesenteric nodes and finally reach the superior mesenteric nodes, which are situated around the origin of the superior mesenteric artery. Okay, that is the lymph drainage. And the nerves are derived from the sympathetic and parasympathetic vagus nerves from the superior mesenteric plexus. Okay, so the nerves are derived from the sympathetic and parasympathetic vagus nerves from the superior mesenteric plexus. So this is the blood supply from the mesenteric artery, ileocecal artery, the veins from the superior mesenteric veins, lymph drainage is from the lymph nodes, the superior mesenteric lymph nodes, and the nerves are the sympathetic and parasympathetic vagus nerve. Fine. Now this is all about the small intestine. Okay, the duodenum, the part of ileum, jejunum and ileum. Okay, now we'll start with the large intestine. Okay, now the large intestine extends from the cecum to the anus. Okay, as you can see in the picture, this is the large intestine. Right. It is divided into cecum, the appendix, transverse colon, ascending colon first, then transverse colon, then descending colon, then sigmoid colon, rectum, and the anus. Okay, the anal canal. So these are the various structures of the, as you can see here, various structures of the large intestine: the cecum, the appendix, ascending colon, transverse colon, descending colon, sigmoid colon, rectum, and the anal canal. Fine. So these are the various parts of the large intestine. Now next is the what will deal with one by one all the structures a little in deep. So the cecum is that part of the large intestine that lies below the level of junction of the ileum with the large intestine. Okay. Now, it is blind-ended pouch that is situated in the right iliac fossa. It is completely covered with peritoneum. Okay. So the cecum is that part of large intestine that lies below the level of the junction of the ileum with the large intestine. Okay. And it is blind-ended pouch that is situated in the right iliac fossa. and is completely covered with the peritoneum. As you can see in the picture, right iliac fossa, as you can see, it's here present in the right iliac fossa here. Right iliac fossa, this is the right iliac fossa, okay, and the junction at the lies below the level of junction of the ileum with the large intestine. So it is blind-ended pouch that is situated in the right iliac fossa. It possesses considerable amount of mobility. The longitudinal muscle is restricted to the 3 flat bends and the teniculi. Okay, so it's basically they have the mobility, this amount of mobility they have to the longitudinal muscle, and that is restricted to the 3 flat bands and the teniculi. Now, what are the relations of the cecum, how it is related to the other structures of the human abdomen? So anteriorly there is the coils of small intestine, sometimes part of the greater omentum and anterior abdominal wall in the right iliac region. Right? Anteriorly the coils of small intestine, and posteriorly the right psoas, major psoas muscle and the iliacus muscle. Okay, that is combinedly called as the iliopsoas. Okay, and the femoral nerve and the lateral cutaneous nerve of the thigh. So these are the posterior relations. As you can see, the appendix is commonly found behind the cecum. So you can see here the psoas major muscle. Sorry. So these are the relations of the cecum. How, and the medially the appendix arises from the cecum on its medial side. Okay, on the medial side there is appendix, then there is anteriorly the coils of small intestine called as the greater omentum and the anterior abdominal wall in the right iliac region. Posteriorly there is the right psoas in the iliacus major muscle, and the femoral nerve. Okay, so these are the various structures: lateral femoral cutaneous nerve, cecum, femoral nerve. So these are the various structures related to the cecum. Fine. Now next is the ileocecal junction. So the terminal part of the ileum enters the large intestine at the junction of the cecum with the ascending colon. The opening is provided with the 2 folds or slips which form the so-called ileocecal valve. The appendix communicates with the cavity of the cecum through an opening located below and behind the ileocecal opening. Fine. So the appendix communicates with this cavity of the cecum. The appendix communicates with the cavity of the cecum through an opening located below the and behind the ileocecal opening. Fine. Now next is the blood supply of the ileocecal junction. The blood supply, lymphatic drainage and innervation of the cecum. Okay. Now the arteries, the anterior and posterior cecal arteries, from the ileocolic artery, a branch of superior mesenteric artery. Veins are corresponding to arteries and the drain into the superior mesenteric vein. Lymph drainage, the lymph vessels pass through several mesenteric nodes and finally reach the superior mesenteric nodes, and the nerve supply is by the vagus nerve, the sympathetic and the parasympathetic nerves from the superior mesenteric plexus. Fine. So these are the arterial supply, the venous drainage, and the lymph drainage, and the nerve supply of the cecum. Now the next structure is the appendix. So appendix is a narrow muscular tube containing a large amount of lymphoid tissue, and the base is attached to the posterior medial surface of the cecum and is free, and the remainder of the appendix is free. Fine. Now it has a complete peritoneal covering which is attached to the mesentery of the small intestine by the mesoappendix. So mesoappendix contains the appendicular vessels and nerves. The tip of the appendix may be found in the following positions: into the pelvis against the right abdominal pelvic wall, maybe in the behind the cecum, maybe in front of or behind the terminal part of ileum. Okay, so these are the various positions where the appendix can be found. The first and second positions are most common, that is the into the right pelvic wall and behind the cecum. This is the most common the appendix is present. So you people must have heard of appendicitis and the operation for the appendicectomy. That is called as the appendicectomy, in which this appendix is the vestigial organ. It has no function in human body. So that's why this can be removed through an surgery, and the condition is called as the appendicitis, in which there is inflammation of this appendix, and that is very painful in the right iliac fossa. Okay, so this is the what you can say, it's the removal is called as the appendicectomy. Okay, fine. Now what are the blood supply of the appendix? Arteries. The appendicular artery is a branch of posterior cecal artery. The appendicular vein drains into the posterior cecal vein. The lymph vessels drain into one or two nodes lying in the mesoappendix and then into the superior mesenteric nodes. Now the appendix is supplied by the sympathetic and parasympathetic nerves from the superior mesenteric plexus. So these are the various arterial supply, venous supply, lymph drainage, and the nerve supply. Now the next is the ascending colon. So the ascending colon extends upward from the cecum to the inferior surface of the right lobe of the liver, as you can see in the picture, where it turns to the left, forming the right colic flexure and become continuous with the transverse colon. So this as you can see, this is the ascending colon and this is the right colic flexure. This is the turn is called as the right colic flexure and continues with the transverse colon. So the peritoneum covers the front and the side of the ascending colon, binding it to the posterior abdominal wall. Now relations: interiorly, coils of small intestine, the greater omentum and the anterior abdominal wall. The relations are these. And posteriorly, the iliacus, the iliac crust, the quadratus lumborum, the origin of the transversus abdominis muscle and the lower pole of the right kidney. So these are the lower pole of the right kidney. These are the various what you can say, the posterior relations, and the iliohypogastric and the ilioinguinal nerves cross behind it. Fine. So these are the various relations of the ascending colon. Now the blood supply of the ascending colon. Arteries, the ileocolic and the right colic branches of the superior mesenteric artery. The veins correspond to the arteries and the drain into the superior mesenteric vein. The lymph vessels drain into the lymph nodes lying along the course of the colic vessel, colic blood vessels, and ultimately reach the superior mesenteric nodes. Okay, and the nerve supply, the sympathetic and parasympathetic vagus nerves from the superior mesenteric plexus. So these are the arteries, the veins, the lymph vessels, and the nerve supply of the, and this is the blood supply and lymph drainage and venous drainage and the nerve supply of the ascending colon. Fine. Now the next is the transverse colon. So the transverse colon extends across the abdomen, occupying the umbilical region. It begins at the right colic flexure below the right lobe of the liver and hangs downward, suspended by the transverse mesocolon from the pancreas. Okay, so you can see here in the picture, this is the transverse colon. Okay, and there is it begins at the right colic flexure here. This is the right colic flexure, suspended by the transverse mesocolon from the pancreas. It then ascends to the left colic flexure below the spleen. The left colic flexure is higher than the right colic flexure and is suspended from the diaphragm by the phrenico-colic ligament. Fine. And the transverse mesocolon suspends the transverse colon from the anterior border of the pancreas, and it is attached to the superior border of the transverse colon, and the posterior layers of the greater omentum are attached to the inferior border. Fine. So the transverse mesocolon suspends the transverse colon from the anterior border of the pancreas. It is attached to the superior border of the transverse colon. The posterior layers of the greater omentum are attached to the inferior border. The relations of the transverse colon: interiorly, the greater omentum and the interior abdominal wall, umbilical and the hypogastric regions. Posteriorly, the second part of the duodenum, the head of the pancreas, and the coils of the jejunum and the ileum. Okay, so these are the various interior and the posterior relations of the transverse colon. Now the blood supply. So blood supply of transverse colon is through the proximal 2/3 are supplied by the medial colic artery, a branch of the superior mesenteric artery, and the distal third is supplied by the left colic artery, a branch of the inferior mesenteric artery. Fine. Veins. The veins correspond to the arteries and drain into the superior and inferior mesenteric veins. Okay. The lymph drainage. The proximal 2/3 drain into the colic nodes and then into the superior mesenteric nodes. Fine. The distal third drains into the colic nodes and then into the inferior mesenteric nodes. Fine. So these are the arterial supply, venous drainage, and the lymph drainage, and the nerve supply. The proximal 2/3 are innervated by the sympathetic and the vagal nerve through the superior mesenteric plexuses, and the distal third is innervated by the sympathetic and parasympathetic pelvic splanchnic nerves through the inferior mesenteric plexuses. Okay, so this is all about the transverse colon. Now we'll go to the descending colon. Okay, now the descending colon is about 10 inches, that is the 25 centimeter long. It extends downward from the left colic flexure and to the pelvic brim, where it becomes continuous with the sigmoid colon. Now the peritoneum covers the front and the sides and binds it to the posterior abdominal wall. Fine. So this is about the peritoneum, which covers the front and the sides and binds it to the posterior abdominal wall only. Fine. And the relations are the interiorly, the coils of the small intestine, the greater omentum, and the anterior abdominal wall. Posteriorly, the lateral border of the left kidney, the origin of the transversus abdominis muscle, the quadratus lumborum, the iliacus, and the left psoas. So the ilio-hypogastric and the ilio-inguinal nerves, the lateral cutaneous nerve of thigh, and the femoral nerve. So these are the interior and the posterior relations of the descending colon. Fine. Now the relations of the you can see they've shown all these in the picture. Anteriorly, the coils of the small intestine. Okay. Posteriorly, the coils of the small intestine and the greater omentum, and posteriorly the viscera, the lateral border of the left kidney. The muscles are the transversus abdominis, the quadratus lumborum, the iliacus, and the left psoas. The bone is the iliac crest. Fine. And the four nerves are the ilio-hypogastric, ilio-inguinal nerves, lateral cutaneous nerves of the thigh, and the femoral nerve. So this is the what you can say, this is the various interior and the posterior relations of the descending colon. Now the blood supply of descending colon is the arteries, the left colic and the sigmoid branches of the inferior mesenteric artery, The veins corresponding to arteries and the drain into the inferior mesenteric artery, mesenteric vein. Lymph drainage is the lymph drains into the colic lymph nodes and the inferior mesenteric nodes around the origin of the inferior mesenteric artery. And the nerve supply. Nerve supply is the sympathetic and parasympathetic pelvic splanchnic nerves through the inferior mesenteric plexus. Okay, so these are the various arterial supply, venous drainage, lymph drainage, and the nerve supply. Now, the sigmoid colon. The next part of the greater intestine is the sigmoid colon. Now, the sigmoid colon is a 10 to 15 inches, that is the 25 to 38 centimeters long, and begins as a continuation of the descending colon and in front of the pelvic brim. So below it begins the continuous with the rectum in front of the third sacral vertebra. The sigmoid colon is mobile and hangs down into the pelvic cavity in the form of a loop. So the sigmoid colon is attached to the posterior pelvic wall by a fan-shaped sigmoid mesocolon. Relations are the interiorly in the male, the urinary bladder, in the female, the posterior surface of the uterus and the upper part of the vagina, and the posteriorly the rectum and the sacrum. The sigmoid colon is also related to the lower coils of the terminal part of the ileum. So these are the various relationship of the sigmoid colon. Blood supply, arteries from the sigmoid branches of the inferior mesenteric artery. Veins, the veins drain into the inferior the mesenteric vein which joins the portal venous system. Lymph drainage, the lymph drains into the nodes along the course of the sigmoid arteries. From these nodes, the lymph travels into the inferior mesenteric nodes, and the nerve supplies the sympathetic and parasympathetic nerves from the inferior hypogastric plexus. Fine. Now the next part is the rectum. The second last part, that is the rectum, is about 5 inches, that is the 13 centimeters long. Right? It's 13 centimeters long. It begins in the front of the third sacral vertebra as a continuation of the sigmoid colon. It passes downward following the curve of the sacrum and the coccyx. It ends into the front of the tip of the coccyx by piercing the pelvic diaphragm and becoming continuous with the anal canal. The lower part of the rectum is dilated to form the rectal ampulla. The puborectalis portion of the levator ani muscles forms a sling at the junction of the rectum with the anal canal and pulls this part of the lower bowel forward, producing the anorectal angle. The peritoneum covers the anterior and lateral surfaces of the fourth third of the rectum and only the anterior surface of the middle third, leaving the lower third devoid of peritoneum. Right. So this is the part of the rectum. You can see here, in this, and here in this. Okay, so this is the part of the rectum. All the parts are very clearly there in appendix, the cecum, the ascending colon, flexure, hepatic flexure, or the right colic flexure, the transverse colon, this splanchnic flexure, then there is descending colon, then there is sigmoid colon, rectum, and the anus. Okay, the sigmoid colon, transverse colon, rectal colon. So this is all about the rectum. Now the relations of the rectum. Posteriorly, the rectum is in contact with the sacrum and coccyx, the piriformis, coccygeus, and the levator ani muscles, the sacral plexus and the sympathetic trunks. Posteriorly, anteriorly in the male, the upper 2/3 of the rectum, and is related to the sigmoid colon, coils of the ileum that occupy the rectovesical pouch. The lower third of the rectum is related to the posterior surface of the bladder, to the termination of the vas deferens and the seminal vesicles on each side, and to the prostate. In the female, the upper 2/3 of the rectum is related to the sigmoid colon and the coils of ileum that occupy the rectouterine pouch, that a pouch of Douglas. The lower third of the rectum is related to the posterior surface of the vagina. Okay, so these are the various relations of the rectum. And the arterial supply, the superior, middle and inferior rectal arteries. The superior rectal artery is a direct continuation of the inferior mesenteric artery and is the chief artery supplying the mucous membrane. The middle rectal artery is a small branch of internal iliac artery and is distributed mainly to the muscular coat. And the inferior rectal artery is a branch of the internal pudendal artery in the perineum. Fine. Now the veins, the venous drainage, the veins of the rectum correspond to the arteries. Superior rectal vein is a tributary of the portal circulation and drains into the inferior mesenteric vein. So the middle and the inferior rectal veins drain into the internal iliac and the internal pudendal veins respectively. The union between the rectal veins forms an important portal and systemic anastomosis. Okay, so it's shown in the picture here, the venous drainage, the portal cavern anastomosis and all. Fine. So this is about the so descending colon is about 10 centimeter 10 in launches with 1600 left colic pressure to the wave down with this. And the difference between the large intestine and the small intestine. External differences are the small intestine with exception of the duodenum is mobile. The small intestine is more mobile, whereas the ascending and the descending parts of the colon are fixed. The caliber of this full small intestine and is the smaller than that of the filled large intestine. The small intestine, with the exception of the duodenum, has a mesentery that passes downward across the midline into the right iliac fossa. Fine. This is the difference between the small and the large intestine, and the other differences are the longitudinal muscles of the small intestine forms a continuous layer around the gut. In the large intestine, with the exception of the appendix, the longitudinal muscle is collected into 3 bands, the teniculi. Small intestine has no fatty tags attached to its wall. The large intestine has fatty tags called the appendices. The size is epiploiky. The wall of the small intestine is smooth, whereas that of the large intestine is sacculated. So these are the various differences in the small and the outer external differences between the small and large intestine. And there's the internal differences are the mucous membranes of the small intestine has a permanent folds called the plicae secularis, which are absent in the large intestine, and the mucous membrane of the small intestine has villi, which are absent in the large intestine. Now the aggregation of the lymphoid tissue called the Peyer's patches are found in the mucous membrane of the small intestine. So these are absent in the large intestine. Okay, so you can see here all the part of the colon, from the cecum, the appendix, the ileocecal valve, okay, the ascending colon, the right colic flexure, the transverse colon, the splanchnic flexure, the descending colon, the mesentery, the teniculi, the sigmoid colon, rectum and the infana. So these are the various structures of the small large intestine. I think that's all about the intestine in detail that we need to know. And thank you very much.